Hey Genderqueer Chat, happy Monday, it's Matt, and this week's topic was posted on our Facebook page a little while ago, and it is, could being sexually abused as a child cause somebody to be genderqueer? Have you experienced any abuse that has made you pay more attention to your gender and how it relates to the world around you? So this is a really interesting question, obviously quite a sensitive issue. We also have a backup question if anybody on the channel didn't want to tackle this particular one this week, but I'm going to talk about this main topic, although I'll probably keep it brief as I haven't had too much experience myself to talk about on the topic, and also definitely not an authority on this particular issue. But I guess it is conceivable that somebody who experiences a degree of sexual abuse as a child, if they had a predisposition to maybe think differently about gender or identify in that sort of way, it could conceivably be a trigger or an influence that helps them shape their identity and come to a point where they would identify as genderqueer. I think the formation of gender identity is a really complicated thing, and there's a hell of a lot of different factors that contribute towards it through your relationships with your family, broader society, with your community, the things that you're taught, and I guess your relationship to your body and how you're taught to relate to that. So somebody who has been a victim of abuse, or specifically sexual abuse, I guess, is going to have a different view or set of experiences to do with things like their gender, their body, things like sex, and also issues to do with gender roles and the way that other people treat them, and the way that they their gender perhaps would react or be seen by others. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that the construction of somebody's gender, especially if we're talking about children, is a very complex thing, and of course outside influences and different things that you go through and life situations can definitely influence that. No, I don't think that being sexually abused will lead you to identify as genderqueer. There's certainly people out there who identify as genderqueer who have never experienced any kind of sexual abuse or abuse in general, and there's certainly people out there who have been sexually abused who don't identify as genderqueer. So no, I don't think it would lead you to that, but of course, the formation of your identity is a very complicated thing, and any contributing factors that you experience during your childhood could well influence the way that you see gender, the way that you see your body, the way that you see yourself. And for somebody who is has a predisposition to maybe going down that path where they question gender or identify in a non-gender normative, which is an incorrect term to use, way, then of course that could have an effect. I also think, I guess, if somebody was identifying, and there's plenty of reasons why somebody would identify as genderqueer as well, that's the other thing. I mean, it's not just necessarily, people can come at genderqueer from sort of a political standpoint or something like that. So from that perspective as well, it's conceivable that if somebody was disillusioned with the gender binary because of their experiences with gender through things like sexual abuse, then of course they may identify in that way as well. But I think if somebody was taking on an identity, whether it be genderqueer or anything else, and they suspected that it probably had something to do with childhood trauma or unresolved issues, I guess I would encourage them to explore that side of things first, and to get help and talk to somebody and deal with those things, because an identity or taking on a label or sort of interacting with a new sort of group of people who identify the same way is not necessarily going to fix or heal those sort of past traumas. So that, I guess, that's the way that I would look at it. From my own experience, while I have never experienced any I haven't experienced any sexual abuse necessarily. I've certainly experienced physical abuse as a child growing up from a close family member, and that definitely did shape the way that I viewed and interacted with gender. I don't think it has anything to do with me identifying as genderqueer, but it certainly growing up, it helped shape my view of what a man is, and also what a man isn't, and also the kind of man that when I semi-identified as male, I knew the sort of man that I didn't want to be and didn't want to grow up as. And for me, definitely those experiences pointed out to me some significant factors, but more from a point of just my general who I wanted to be. And it's kind of really related with gender, but also separate from gender. So, and the abuse that I experienced probably had more to do with me being kind of non-gender normative in the eyes of society than had an effect on it, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it certainly changed the way that I viewed the world and viewed people, and viewed things like parent-to-child relationships. And so definitely abuse can, and in my experience has, does shape the world around you. So yeah, that's probably all I have to say on the topic. It's a very interesting one, and thank you to the viewer who posted that one. I'm sorry I don't have anything else to really contribute towards it, but yeah, and as I said, it's obviously a very sensitive issue, and anyone who has experienced that kind of thing and maybe haven't resolved it or spoken to anyone about it should probably go down that path. And yeah, people who are experienced in dealing with these sort of things and discussing these kind of traumas and experiences with people. But yeah, I'll see you next week.